Welcome back to the channel. It's great to be back with you all. I've currently been away in Bali having some time off, which was absolutely lovely, but we're back. So in today's tutorial we're actually going to be making a floor arch. These become really popular in wedding ceremonies. So instead of having your typical big arch that sort of, trails around you, these ones are done on the floor. And so the bride and the groom would be up at the altar and the arrangement would wrap around them on the floor. So it gives the illusion of a whimsical garden around you. But for this tutorial, I'm going to be doing it on the table, just so that you can follow along with me and see this a lot clearer as opposed to me working on the floor. What we've actually done is I've prepped my flowers and I have my floral foam ready to go. Usually with your floral foam, I would actually wet these and I would have them secured in some kind of a tray. And that way it's very removable. So you can transport it really easy. Nothing will leak out. And obviously your flowers will stay nice and hydrated all day. But just for this tutorial, I'm not wetting the foam. Therefore, I haven't actually put any trays underneath my flower foam. I'm just doing it as for a teaching purpose. Obviously, these flowers will just come straight out afterwards. So I'm not wetting it and I'm not using any floral trays for that reason. So if you're wondering, that's purely why. It's just for the tutorial, the teaching purposes that I'm not doing that. But for any other reason, I would do so, especially if this was going out for a ceremony. You would absolutely have to have your flower foam saturated right through, therefore your flowers can drink. All right, let's get started. So I've got the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 blocks laid out. Actually chose an array of different kind of things today. This one here is actually a broccolini, but it's actually gone to seed. So it's perfect for this, what I'm actually trying to create today. And you know what, guys, you don't always have to use just flowers. You can use vegetation, you can use anything that looks appealing to you and what you're trying to create. So again, this is going to be a really summer garden piece. I've used different types of greenery. I've got over here some really beautiful white and pink orchids that I'm going to use. I've got some beautiful purple wisteria. I've just picked this from my plum tree, sorry. So that's the foliage, and you can see there's tiny little fruit that are still on there. So I love using things like that. But in this one, it's going to be a little bit different. Usually I use all fresh flowers, but I'm mixing fresh with some faux. These are actually faux roses. They're at a really high quality. They're latex. So they do look super, super real, and they have that real touch to them. When you put something like this in amongst some real foliage, it's so hard to tell anymore whether it's like a real flower or not. But I just wanted to show you something really different today. So I'm going to be using real and faux. And you tell me whether you can tell at the end of this or not. So I've chosen an off-white and a white, and I actually have a blush peach hydrangea. These are quite small. These aren't the really big like pom-pom tops, but I'm going to be incorporating some of that in there as well. All right, so as usual, let's get going and let me show you how I create this. So I'm going to be working from the front of the table, and I'm going to be working maybe possibly from the back of the table. Let's just see how we go, because this is going to get quite tall. All right, so I'm going to start with my foliage first, and I'm using a lot of greenery in this. I might bring that one forward for the moment. because these ones are all really tall. So just bring in my messy bucket closer. So I would start by placing my foliage in. Excuse my back, I'm going to be talking to you front on. I won't be rude and leave you out. But I really wanted you to gauge what this is going to look like from the front. So what I like to do is I like to place one tall one in each, measuring them, making sure they're all at very similar heights. And that way you're getting your structure already. Can you see we're getting that really good height in there? This piece is supposed to have height. Don't forget, something like this would usually be on the floor. So if this was on the floor, you want the height of your floor arch to sort of be at just below hip height, so that when you're getting photography done, you'll see all that beautiful floral like around you. It's not obstructive, it's not up here, but it's just towards the ground. So when you're taking photography work and the bride and groom is sort of like at their altar or wherever they're getting married in the garden or whatever it is, you get a beautiful half semicircle of beautiful flowers that just sort of wrap around them, and it's just lovely. So, okay, let me keep moving along. So we're going to create lots and lots of movement. But for the moment, we just want to really start getting our shape in. And then we'll actually start filling it all out. And what's good about doing it like this is that after the ceremony, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 single pieces that you can now move elsewhere. You can keep it as it is, or you can move them wherever you want to maybe place them. If I was doing this on the floor and this was going out for an event, this would be a lot bigger. I'd probably use double what I'm using depending on the space I'm working in. But just for this tutorial, I'm just using what I can lay out on my table, and that's pretty much the 5 flower foam that I can get on there. But you could make this as big as you wanted to and as elaborate as you wanted to as well. Obviously, these things don't have, there's no limits to these sort of things. Obviously, this would have to be worked into a budget. Your budget would determine how big this would be. And they've become really popular. I'm going to pop that one in there. That's just a little one. So you can see it's really starting to fill out now. I've got some smaller ones that I'm going to bring in. And I've kept these ones quite small on purpose because I want to use these as my fillers. Keeping them nice and close to the base now. Really close to the base. Because I haven't wet my foam, they're not heavy, so I do run the risk of these toppling over. So if they do, excuse me for that. But I'm hoping they will stay nice and straight for me. So you can see I'm just sort of placing them through the bottoms now. Really just sort of trying to fill these, just trying to really fill out where the flower foam sort of is still exposed. Obviously, we never want exposed flower foam. Never want exposed flower foam. Okay, so we can sort of start to see how this is transforming. So this is really cool. So this has just gone to seed. It's just broccolini, just left to its own devices, and it's just pretty much gone to flower. But I love the interest that it has. Like, it's beautiful for a summer garden. It's beautiful for anything summer garden. Like, no one really knows what you're putting in until you tell them, I suppose. But I love using a lot of different herbs. Like most people would ask and say, what is that? And then when you tell them, it's like, oh, really? So it's nice to think out of the box. You want your work to sort of have a point of difference. And so I'm still using the height. So I'm still using the height. I'm taking advantage of that because that's what we want. I was explaining before why we would use so much height in something like this. And these have got really thick. When you let the broccolini go to flower like this, the stems get really thick. They get really big and thick, so they're nice and hardy.
A hug, a promise, and life dances to the sound of the winds. Beautiful life, how beautiful you are. Woven into threads of hope and stars. Every day is a gift, every day is a gift. To paint with love and laughter. Steps that intersect, dreams that intertwine. And in the gaze of a stranger, we find pieces of our...
These ones I think I'm going to sort of like pop up a little bit higher, and I'm blending them in. Can you see how where I'm using them? I'm using them right in between a lot of this foliage, and that's how you disguise your faux flowers. When you have them on their own forward faced and there's not much going on around them, you might be able to tell that they're faux. But when you really blend them in with your foliage, like that, it gets that little harder to tell if whether they're faux or not. And don't forget to fan them out if they need to. These ones have been fanned out already, but I'm going to do it again just for the tutorial purpose. And you really want to make sure that they're nice and open. Can you hear the foam? Because there's no water in it. Okay. Love, 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 love. Moving those. Okay, I've got some viburnums here that have just started to bloom. So that's perfect for this. So what I want to do is I want to snip the viburnums so I can get a couple out of one stem. Had I just used what I had there without the trim, no good. Why not get more for your buck? And I'm going to use these more forward because I want to now also use the foliage that's on them, the leaves, to cover up some more of my flower foam. So cutting these down again. That way I'm getting a bit more, that I can use in my piece. Using all the leaves. Don't be shy to use all the leaves. The leaves are great. Okay, so we can start to see now, we're We're starting to get a lot more coverage through the bottoms. I just want to clean some of that out. This needs way more, way more. You want all that flower foam fully covered. So what I like to do is I'd like to make the piece, and then on the day, if I'm taking this somewhere, I'll place it where it needs to be, and that's when I add all that extra foliage through the bottoms. So I make sure that from every angle, that's not going to be seen. Obviously, a lot of this is done forward. When you're doing a floor arch, a lot of the time you just see it one way. You can make this to be seen from every angle, but a lot of the time it's just purely from the front because all your photo work gets done in front of it. So you don't really need to fill out the backs as much, but you can. If it was going somewhere where it was going to be seen from every angle, you would make sure that it is completely covered. And obviously all your bottoms would need to be done too. So where I'm seeing all that flower foam, I would go in and I would insert lots and lots of foliage, and that way you would not see any of it. And it doesn't matter if that piece is getting moved. If that's getting moved up onto a pedestal or onto a mantle, you wouldn't see any of that flower foam. Okay, I'm going to add in some of the faux hydrangea. And because there's not too much of this, I'm just going to place this just sort of just covering it in between some of that foliage. And it's probably not going to be on every single one. So I'm going to choose where I want this. And possibly one on this side. Just to make it look a bit balanced. All right. And with that said, let's go in now and put in our wisteria. Wisteria is great, but it sheds a lot. That's the only thing. So this is the kind of thing that if I was using something like this I would take with me. I would take this with me to the event, and then I would insert this last minute because it is very fragile. And the last thing you want to do is you don't want to lose all your petals. It defeats the purpose of using it. So I think there's a bit much on this for me. So I'm going to cut back what I don't want, which is a lot of that actually. And I'm just going to use the stems like this. There's those nice woody ones. I take those off as well. So putting this one through. And a bit more. Okay, now that the wisteria has been put back in, let's go ahead and start inserting some of our orchid. I'm going to be using the white and the pink. I'm going to start with the pink. Now, this one is a little tricky because they're so big. They will need to be cut down. And same with the white. Because they're so big, I'm going to use portions of this. So I'm going to cut this in the middle so that I can use and maybe trim off some of these. Leaving that one out the way for the minute. And then I'm just going to be placing these in. And there we have it. That's pretty much our garden floor arch done. Obviously you can go in and you could make this as romantic as you wanted to. You could use just roses. You could do a beautiful hydrangea. Obviously they're not in season yet. They will be soon. But I've just chosen to use an array of different blooms. I've used some garden inspired with a touch of ornamental, using the orchids. Well, this particular one gives it that real ornamental feel, but it still gives it that really beautiful, soft, romantic garden, whimsical kind of feel to it. So I hope you liked this tutorial. If there's any questions, drop them down in the comments. I always love to hear from you guys. And yeah, we've got some really interesting stuff coming up. So we've got a few garden tours, which will be really fun. You'll be touring my own garden. Now that spring's here, I'd love to take you around and just show you what else I have growing. Yeah, so we've got some really fun stuff coming up. I've got some really beautiful things to show you that will take the rest of my design series out. So you'll have to stay tuned and waiting for what's coming up. But I hope you liked the video, guys, and subscribe, follow along, tap the bell, you know what to do, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye, guys.